Is anybody ready for the election season to be over? Yeah. Does it seem like this is the longest campaign season in the history of the earth world? Whew. How many more days do we have? Too many. Too many. Uh, Luckily, I already voted, so got that out of the way, and happy to do my civic duty. But you know what? With that in mind, that's part of the reason I was so excited today. I was going to preach to you on joy because we need a little joy in our world right now, don't we? So if you received our weekly email update, which by the way, if you didn't receive our weekly email update, in light of COVID, that is the primary way in which we are informing you about all things church. So if you didn't get that, you can just write it down on a piece of paper and hand it to me on your way out, or just call the church office. Somehow let us know. We can get your email on that email update. But part of that email update this week, you saw that our topic was going to be joy. Yet, as I spent time personally with the Lord this week, I felt something in my spirit. I just had a sense in my spirit that I should change and shift our focus today and look at a passage from the book of Revelation, chapter 5, if you have your Bibles with you. And the cool thing is, I think we may learn about joy in the end. I think we may end up getting there still. The book of Revelation is a really complex read, right? Anybody agree? You tried to read Revelation? It's a tough read. It's full of imagery and allegory, and it's loaded with this symbolism. And so it's kind of hard to understand exactly what's going on. It can be confusing at best, and really at worst, it can be this really unrealistic sci-fi wacko stuff. Not only that, but Revelation is the source text for many wild predictions about the apocalypse, many speculative guesses as when Christ may return, many claims that our current era is the fulfillment of the end times. If I'm honest with you, these are the reasons sometimes I find myself avoiding the book of Revelation. It's just a bit exhausting. Yet, we can't let humanity's infatuation, which that's what it is, we have this love affair with trying to somehow predict the future. That's why there's all those palm readers and what do you call them? You go and get your future tellers. We have this infatuation with it. But we can't let that rob us from the beauty of what Revelation was from the beginning, and its intent and its mission in the church. And that's John's vision of God's realm. That's what this book is. It's a guy named John who was a close follower of God, a close follower of Jesus, and he gets exiled to an island as punishment. They get rid of him. They send him to an island. He's off there by himself. Now, some of you, that doesn't sound too bad, right? I'll take that punishment. But he's there on this island, and he has a supernatural vision. And here's what I want you to get. It's almost as if John is standing in one room, and there's another room on the other side, which is the heavenly realm, God's realm, where God is already reigning. And it's almost as if somebody just takes the curtain that's dividing the room, and he just pulls the curtain away. And now all of a sudden, John can see into God's realm. It's kind of like, virtual reality sets. Have you guys seen those? It's kind of like virtual reality, except with the awkward-looking goggles. No awkward-looking goggles in John's day. But John finds himself in the heavenly reality, and he sees God on the throne, and all of creation, everything that's been created is constantly worshiping God on his throne. And that's where we pick up John's vision. That's where we pick up this virtual reality that John is having of the heavenly throne. In chapter 5, verse 1, says this: Then I meaning John, saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll with writing on both sides and sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a mighty angel proclaiming in a loud voice, "Who is worthy to break the seals and open the scroll?" But no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth could open the scroll or even look inside it. I wept and wept because no one was found who was worthy to open the scroll or look inside. Then one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals." And then I saw a lamb looking as if it had been slain, standing at the center of the throne, encircled by the 4 living creatures and the elders. The lamb had 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth. He, the Lamb, went and took the scroll from the right hand of him who sat on the throne. And when he had taken it, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, and each one had a harp. They were holding bowls of incense, which are the prayers of God's people. And they sang a new song, saying, "You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, because you were slain, and with your blood you purchased for God persons from every tribe and every language and every people and nation." There's a lot of symbolism there, right? Kind of a confusing passage. But right at the beginning of the chapter, you see here, John's vision is of God. He's sitting on the throne, and in his right hand is this scroll. It's a well-sealed scroll. And there's a mighty angel, and that angel is yelling, "Who is worthy to open the scroll?" So what is this scroll, and what is the purpose of the scroll? I want you to see a couple things. John's description gives us 2 clues. And the first clue that we see is in the second line here, is that on the scroll there was writing on both sides of the parchment. And there's only 2 reasons that you would write on both sides of the scroll. One is that you were too cheap and you didn't have a second scroll, and so you might need to use the back side. The second reason they would write on the back of the scroll was because whatever they were saying, they wanted to make sure beyond any shadow of doubt that nothing could be added to the message that was written. It was the final word. Nobody could come back later and make additions. The second clue that I want to point out to you is that the scroll was sealed with 7 seals. 7 meaning perfect. It's a well-sealed document. And this was common of legal last wills in the Roman world. When someone documented what they wanted to happen to their belongings, to their trust, to their estate upon their death, there was no empty space left on that scroll. They made sure that the front and back was written on. Not only that, but then it was sealed, and only the right people could open that seal. So God has a final and complete 2-page document that is sealed for only the beneficiary to open. Is it possible that this scroll contains God's final will for the rescue of the world? N.T. Wright, he suggests, we rightly guess that it contains God's secret plan to undo and overthrow the world-destroying projects that have already gained so much, and to plant and nurture instead the world-rescuing project, which will get creation itself back on track in the right direction. So this is what God is holding in his right hand. He's on the scroll. This is God's will for the future. God's master plan. This is the way to everlasting life in the new heaven and the new earth. Yet here's the problem. Who is worthy to open that scroll? Who has the pedigree? Who has the track record? Who is the proper heir of God? Because the scroll isn't intended for anyone. It's a last testament. It's a last will. It has a very specific purpose, and not just anyone can read it. It reminds me of the time when I first came to the church here, and I was trying to figure out how to change some things on our website. So I got on, tried to log in, and of course we didn't have the right password. So what do you do when you don't have the right password? You hit, "I forgot my password." And what does it do? It sends you an email to the account that's associated with the church website. Well, unfortunately, that wasn't an account. That was an account of somebody who was no longer here. And so that email went somewhere for them to reset the password, but I didn't have control of that email, so I couldn't get to it. So then what I did is I guess I'll call them. I call them up and say, hey, I'm new to the church. I'd like to work on the website. I need access to it. They said, well, you're not an authorized user. And so we'll send an email to the authorized user, and they need to give you permission to use the website. I said, that's great, but the authorized user doesn't attend the church here anymore, and that email is no longer active. And so when you send the email, nothing's going to happen, and we're still not going to be able to access the web. Has anybody been on that weird circle before? Maybe that's why John was crying. He knew what was happening. Because there was something protected in that website, and it was very important, and not just anybody could get to it. It had to be the right person, and I wasn't the right person. So we look at verse 4 again. This is John talking. I wept and wept because no one was found. No one was found who was worthy to open the scroll and look inside. And when I read this verse this week, it hit home really hard. To be honest, I want to weep with John because I feel like I can relate to John in this moment. I feel like over and over again, our culture wants to suggest candidates that can pave the way to our preferred future, that can guarantee the things we want to happen in our future. I feel like we're constantly tempted to trust the next leader or the politician, the next preacher, the next blogger, the next celebrity. We are duped into believing if we can just find that one person who is worthy of our trust, worthy of our vote, worthy of our allegiance, then our future will be secure. And we place so much weight on the elected authorities in our lives, and our hope seems to be determined by majority results. Yet, as I watched the presidential debate this week, I wanted to weep. Surely my future does not lie in the hands of these two candidates. But beyond that, surely no pastor or author, blogger or friend or family member can be trusted with my future either. If we're honest with ourselves, we're more a part of the problem than we are the solution. Which one of us can be the heirs to the scroll who can say, this is what God's will is for you? And so John weeps like we weep. Because the guarantee of my future and of my joy and of my contentment will never be found in a human candidate. It's not going to happen. There is no one worthy. None. Yet look at this. In our despair, one of the elders who's sitting in the heavenly throne room says to John, do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals. He says, don't despair, John. Don't despair, Brady. Don't despair, church. There is one who is worthy to open the scroll. There's one worthy to lay out the brightest future possible. And it's a lion. It's a lion, a fierce, dominant, victorious, respected, and valiant king from the tribe of Judah, which is the line of David, who was the most conquering king in Israel's history. He is the proper heir. He is ushering in God's kingdom. He is securing our future. The elder wipes the tears from John's eyes, and I can see him lift his chin up, and he says, look, John, see, look at your king. And John wipes the tears from his eyes and still a little bit blurry, and he looks to see his king, and this is what he sees. He sees a lamb slaughtered Then I saw a lamb, looking as if it had been slain, standing at the center of the throne, encircled by the four living creatures and the elders. And John squints a little bit. You said Lion of Judah, right? The triumphant one, the conquering king, the rightful and respected heir. It's the Lion who conquers the ills of this world and who takes us to the top where we belong, right? But the limping lamb walks towards the throne. He, the lamb, went and took the scroll from the right hand of him who sat on the throne. And when he had taken it, the four living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, and they sang a new song, saying, You are worthy to take the scroll, to open the seals, because you were slain. And with your blood you purchased for God persons from every tribe and language and people and nation. Here's the beauty of the gospel. It's in this image right here that John has. The beauty of the heavenly realms of which John catches a glimpse is that our victory doesn't come by strength and force and toughness and valor and wit. Our victory was won in surrender and suffering, death, and sacrifice. Our future is not secured by hitching our wagon to the most powerful, most diplomatic, most correct, most winsome, most trusted, most likable, or most feared. Our future is secured by following the blood trail of the self-emptying sacrifice of God's own Son. There's where our future lies. Our power looks different than the world's power. We come to it only when we give ourselves away. The only one worthy of crafting your future is the bloodied Lamb of God. Yet make no mistake, there is power in the blood. This lamb is lion-like. While some powers conquer men, the lamb conquers death. While some powers rescue stock markets, the lamb rescues sinners. While some powers secure our rights, the lamb secures everlasting life. And while some powers raise the minimum wage, the lamb raises the dead. This isn't your ordinary lamb. This is the lion-like lamb. This is the one worthy to open the final will of God. Church, this candidate is not on the ballot, but he's the only one who can guarantee your future. This candidate won't get a single vote, but he's the only one who's truly worthy of your allegiance. If you're looking for a brighter and more secure, more joyful future, if you're looking to change the trajectory of your life, you're looking for Jesus. The question is he worthy? Is he worthy of your trust? Is he worthy of your surrender? Is he worthy to be the king of your heart?